Hi and welcome to Empower and Thrive. This is Jacqueline here, your host. Thank you to new subscribers. I welcome you. Previous subscribers and all new watchers, I appreciate you. Thank you for bringing me to 51 subscribers. Now, the matter of single parenting is one that touches close to my heart. As a mother of 4 young men, ranging from the ages of 26 down to 16 now. So 26, 24, 20, and 16, all brought up, born and bred here in the United Kingdom. If I sit down here and say it has been easy, I would be lying. Everybody knows that parenting is not an easy job. Parenting young boys into grown men as a single mother is not a joke. It's only by God's grace. Today I want to speak to single parents, those who have been bringing up children by themselves, especially in the diaspora. I'm focusing on the diaspora because I believe that there are some differences in bringing up these children in the diaspora in comparison to if you're bringing them, for instance, in an African country. Again, that depends on the African country and the environment in which they are growing in as well. Today, we also have issues of concern bringing up children in Africa. Some of the things that we see happening here are now rolling and happening in Africa as well. I'm going to focus on bringing children up in the diaspora, specifically boys. I'm talking about boys today, bringing them up. There are a few things that we need to focus on. There are a few things that we need to do, similar to bringing up children that are girl children. Yeah, bringing up daughters. There are some things that remain the same, and there are some things that are slightly different, which I will focus on because I think mothers are are are, um, are going into a loophole, and the missing link could be on the very last point that I'm going to touch on in this video. So if you're a single mother, or even if you're not for that matter, I welcome you to watch this video to the end because I will be touching base on that specific aspect as a last point on this video. One of the things in bringing up and training boys, number one, this is a very basic one, and it is the same as girl children. Now, very often, growing up, it's generally the girls that are taken and sent in to do chores that are gender role related. For instance, cleaning, washing, and keeping the environment clean, washing clothes and so forth. Young boys growing into men in the diaspora need to learn this skill. I cannot emphasize it enough. Cooking. I just simply cannot. Because in the diaspora here and in the United Kingdom or whatever else, we do not have helpers. The majority of us are living without helpers. We do everything without any help. I, as a mother, am the caretaker of the home. I'm the caretaker, you're the caretaker of the children. You do the shopping, you do the cleaning, you ensure your children's homework is done. And growing up, the boys see that. But when they see that one parent, the mother, doing all those roles, and you do not involve them, their mentality is that it is a woman's job to do that work. That is how we end up bringing up young boys into men that do not do chores, that don't want to do chores, that don't want to keep the environment clean, that do not want to keep the outside and inside environment clean. That is one of the things. We're talking about physical things right now. So it is really crucial because even as they go out and grow up, get married and or going to their own homes, they will take that with them, because it will be in their mind that if I don't do this, there's nobody coming to do it for me, unless they're well off enough to employ people. But that is not everybody's portion, and not everybody is willing or can actually do that, at least not immediately. So that's that. That is the same way as teaching girls. Teach them how to cook basic meals. When my son went to university, I started to train him to cook a wider range of meals. That did not start before he went to university. I gradually started some years. As soon as I believe that he understood safety, or that they understood safety, I started to get them to do basic things, making breakfast for themselves, going out shopping, sending them for shopping, getting them to do errands, for instance. And the second thing is, when they now became older and learned how to drive, for instance, the two of them are now drivers, passed driving tests. I started getting them to do errands. I started getting them to maybe help me get to work, or help their brothers get from A to B to C, and so forth and so forth. Giving them a responsibility that a man would carry, that a husband would carry, for instance. So those are smaller tips and things that you could instill in them, that they will grow up with. The next thing to do is another very simple but important one. Run them ragged when they're young. What do I mean by run them ragged? Introduce physical activities and exercises that are boy related. Physical exercise is a very important thing for young boys growing up, and then again, men as well, as they get older. Physical exercise introduces children to be makes children to be calmer. It introduces endorphins that make them happier. Boy children are exceptionally physically active. My children were exceptionally active, very, very boisterous. So I found myself taking them out and about. We took them out and about. They went for activities, museums, parks, libraries, swimming, karate. When you, if you are able to do those things, I can guarantee you that you will not regret it, because now my second son is actually a Muay Thai boxer. He actually goes for and he has run across a couple of competitions now. They're into fitness and exercise, and I can see how it has made them more of um they're holistic. There's a holistic approach in their way of life, and they've also picked up a social life. um what we did with them is now coming back, getting out and about, going to see relatives, visiting relatives. They picked these things up by themselves later on in the years. Even after a pause, they picked it up themselves. So you will see that side, the positive thing coming out of them. The next thing is I spoke about training boys to do um, physical work around the house, is to train boys to be physically presentable and clean. This is something that you would do naturally as a mother anyway. But when I talk about physically presentable and clean, this is not just in their physical appearance, but in their general environment. When there is the absence of a father in the home that stands at the door, and checks the tie, and makes sure that the jacket is well worn, and prays with them, that is now the role of a mother. It becomes the role of a mother where there's an absence of a male figure. The absence of a male figure is the issue for young boys growing into men today. It really is. And I believe that one of the challenges we have in the African Caribbean community is the breakdown of families. Where there's now a male role model. There's no breadwinner. That's the breadwinner uh, gone. Is no longer there. He might be providing from far, from outside, but he's physically not present. The spiritual head has gone, because a husband is the spiritual head after God of the home, and now that's gone. So as a mother, you become the praying mother as well. You become that person, and it's not easy. Um, it's only by God's grace. To be honest with you, if I sit here and tell the testimonies and some of the things that I have been challenged with, the trials in bringing up these young boys into men, by God's grace, one day I will testify by God's grace. But it will come from the place where um, the Lord will need to make me ready first for it. Then I will come come back and actually, so that people can actually learn from it, not just telling to tell, but telling sake. So the next thing is to actually be firm and be gentle. Most of us African parents are coming from a place of, in Africa, in Swahili, we say kiboko. I believe the Nigerians say koboko. So kiboko is basically physical discipline. It's kiboko in Swahili is a stick to whip. I remember when we were growing up, and one of us, five siblings, one of us did something wrong. As soon as my dad came back, uh, one, two, or three would run reporting what the other person did, and you say, "Go and get a kiboko." At which point we know what was coming. All right. So, in the United Kingdom and in the diaspora, I mean, kiboko or koboko, or beating up a child to discipline them, is actually, you're going to create problems for yourself. You, first of all, the time could come when that child could turn against you and report you to social services, to police. The next thing, they're at your door investigating you, and the next thing, your children could be taken away from you. Second reason to not do that is it creates anonymity between you and your children. It creates anger. You provoke them. The Bible says, "Do not, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger." Now, if you're a mother on your own, if a father can provoke their children to anger by virtue of, beating them, how about you as a mother? What would you do? What could you do? Because as mothers, we can actually be that way too. We can try to provoke them to anger by beating them, but don't forget, boys are not going to be young, small boys for a long time. When they get big and you try to provoke them by beating them, you can decide for yourself what could happen. Of course, they are physically stronger than you. They can really change. So boys, in my experience, need a lot of firmness. They need a lot of gentleness. They need you to actually encourage them and talk to them from a mother's heart, as opposed to physically dealing with them. Crucial, very, very crucial, to reduce the kind of anger and anonymity around the home. Very, very important. Because beating actually, it's damaging emotionally. They say that emotional abuse is more damaging than physical abuse, but even that physical abuse could last for quite a long time in their mind. So we avoid that. Now, the last thing, probably not last, but it's not the least. It's not final. There are so many points in bringing up young boys into men in the UK, in the diaspora. So many. But this final one today is a sensitive one, and it depends on one's circumstances. It depends on the mother's circumstances and the type of relationship that you have with their father, for instance. Now, this is not stopping fathers seeing their children, not stopping fathers seeing their boys. There's a lot going on in the community, here in the UK, where mothers are deliberately stopping fathers seeing their children. And there really isn't a need for it. If you could, as a mother, as the single mother, if there's any anonymity, there's any anger and bitterness, that needs to be put aside. You need to go back into yourself, for instance, and ask yourself questions and try to deal with that. Maybe get some counseling and try to deal with that anger and put it aside. Because, like I said earlier, that connection needs to be maintained and the relationship needs to be maintained and retained. Yeah, it needs to be retained and maintained. The father-son relationship is a very important one. And the mother, there's only certain things you can, at a point do. If you do not give that access, there are certain things that boys need to do with men. There are certain activities boys need to do with men. Going bike riding, having man-to-man talk when they're older, even physical washing, for instance. So, for instance, in my case, I have a young man with a special need now. He's 20. Imagine the challenge of physically showing him how to wash himself. There are some things that I've had to train him from when he was young. Luckily, as he's got bigger, he's retained them, but I've had to prompt him sometimes. Those are the challenges, and there are times that now he's got older brothers and they would step in and help in certain aspects with that. Those are some of the things that can be really challenging. If a father has totally left and abandoned the home, then that is different. You can't help it. And so you do as and what you can. Get help if you can. If you can't, and you then God will show you what to do. You will get revelation of how to handle it. But that is that, and it's really important to allow the father to see the children. If he's willing to leave the door open and the person disappears, then that's that. There's no much you can do about that. It's nobody's fault. But that is that, because what you don't want to happen in the end is to be the cause of an anonymity in the later years of their life. You don't want to be the one where your boy children, now men will be saying, "Mommy, you did not allow us to see our father," and they will be angry. They could be angry with you. They could even, cut you off. We pray that none of that happens, and that's the reason why, really. If mothers thought ahead in time, I'm speaking from experience now. If mothers thought ahead in time, your children are not going to be toddling around the house forever. They are going to be big grown men. They are going to be big grown men, and if the damage is done, it could be quite irreparable, which is quite sad. It can be repairable, but don't let it reach a point where it will be really difficult for you to have a decent, holistic young man, grown up, and you have a good, happy relationship with them. That is that about this video. If you've watched up to now, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Now, I don't know why people will come and watch the video and they don't subscribe. Please subscribe to this channel, comment, share your thoughts. I really would like to hear your thoughts. It's not all about me and what I come to say here. So do leave comments, like and subscribe and share. Until next time, the next video, God bless you and bye-bye.